Hey now, today I'm going to be making a batch of my Instant Pot egg bites. We love this recipe around the house. This is a simple, quick, 3-ingredient base recipe that has the flexibility to customize to your heart's content. Now, we love these for just a quick breakfast in the morning or tossing a couple of them in the lunchbox to take to work or school. It's fantastic, so come along for the ride. Now for this recipe, I do have some equipment that I'm going to use here. First of all, I've got my 6-quart Instant Pot. These are Instant Pot egg bites, so of course we're going to need that. Also, I've got an insert here. This is perfect for these egg bites. It's a silicone insert. You could also theoretically use perhaps an Instant Pot safe non-stick pan of some sort, but I really love these because, first of all, it's easy to get them out when you're done here, and it has this nice little lid that helps prevent moisture from getting inside. If you're not using something like this, or if you have a mold here that doesn't have a lid, you are going to want to cover it with some parchment paper or something like that, just to prevent this from getting too much of the moisture from inside the Instant Pot into your eggs. And I also have this blender here. This is going to help us achieve a really nice smooth consistency and texture with these egg bites. You could use an immersion blender if you have a good one. You're probably going to wind up with some more chunks of, say, the cottage cheese and whatnot in it than I'll have with this, but you could get away with that. You could even just try to whisk it if you don't have another appliance like that. If you just have the Instant Pot, you could whisk it up. It is for sure going to be different. You'll have, of course, the whole cottage cheese and stuff like that going on, but I mean, you do you, boo. Of course, these are egg bites, so I'm starting off here with 3 large eggs. I got these out of my chicken coop. They're going to be delicious, so let's get these cracked into a bowl. Just like that, we'll get these into the blender. If you have smaller eggs, you could go with 4 of them. It will change the ratio a little bit, but like I said, it's a pretty flexible, forgiving recipe. I like a heaping half cup of some fresh grated cheese here. This is actually a mix of some medium cheddar and some marble. I just used up some of the cheese that I had around the house. You want to use the fresh grated stuff rather than buying the pre-shredded cheese, just because that has like some other additives and stuff in it that might possibly mess up the texture a little bit. In we go. Should also mention that had a little bit of a pack on it there, so it wasn't too loose or fluffy in there, because I want lots of cheese. I also have a heaping half cup here of some cottage cheese. This is a 1% milk fat cottage cheese, and it says it has 14 grams of protein per serving. All right, so I said 3 ingredients. You could get away with just that. I do like to add just a pinch of salt here, just got some kosher salt. I'll put that in there as well. And now, let's blend. I gave that about 45 seconds there in the blender just to achieve a fairly nice consistency here. I'm just gonna get it all out of the blender. I'm tossing this into a bowl for a reason, so that we can again muck around with the number of ingredients that we're throwing in here. So at this point, you could certainly just go ahead and cook this as it is, or you can add some fixins to it. Now, for that, you can go and add some veg if you want. You can get some meat in there, some nice bacon, some ham, something like that, some crumbled sausage. What I'm going to be doing today here is just adding, well, it's about 1/8 of a cup of some fresh chives that I ripped out of the garden and just chopped up. Of course, with this here, you could also add other spices if you wanted, and you could have put that into the blender initially if you so desired. I'm going to give this just a little bit of a mix. These chives are all just going to float to the top, so I'll just try to somewhat evenly distribute them when I'm putting them into my mold. Now, speaking of my mold, I'm just going to use some non-stick cooking spray and just blast that around on the inside here. That's going to help make these just release from the mold a little bit easier. Now let us add our cheesy egg mixture. I've got a 1/3 cup measure here, and I'm using this. I actually want to put about a 1/4 cup in each of them, but by using the 1/3 cup, I can just not have to fill it all the way up, and I'll be less likely to have some kind of major spilling disaster here. And we're just down to the end of the line here. Using a little silicone scraper just to get out everything from the bowl. And there we go. You can see I have these all fairly even here, and they're not right up to the top. You want to leave about a 1/4 inch or so of headspace in there, just so that they have a little bit of room to puff up. Now I'm going to get my little silicone lid on the top of this. As always with the Instant Pot, I'm going to ensure that I've got about a cup of water in there. Now the best way to get this in and out is of course using the little steam trivet here from the Instant Pot. Pop that right in. That's also going to elevate it up off the bottom. It's time to plug in. Now, when I first went to make these, I was looking at different recipes and I saw some people talking about like 8-minute times and whatnot. And I tried that, but I find it just didn't quite get them cooked all the way through. So what I like to do here is on the manual setting, I actually give it 12 minutes, and I find that that's really good for this particular recipe. Again, if you want to try a different time there, by all means do so. We also have this on the low pressure setting. And that beeping is very loud when your head is right next to the Instant Pot. So I'm just going to make sure that we're not on the venting setting here, that's all sealed up. We're gonna let this work its magic. All right, we just finished our 12-minute pressure cook here. I'm now going to let this sit here for 5 minutes and naturally depressurize. And then, there we go, we'll release the rest of that pressure. Now with all that pressure out, I'm gonna get this out of here. Woohoo! And we're just going to let this sit here and cool down for a couple of minutes. Now that these eggs have had a chance to cool, we need to get them out of that mold. I like to just take them, get them onto a plate, a little flipperoo. Also just a little love squeeze here on those. And we have got all 7 of these egg bites out. They're still steaming hot. So I'm not going to try to eat one quite yet. There we are. After several minutes, these have cooled down a little bit. I mean, they could be eaten right now. You also have some options here. You can take them, pop them into an airtight container, and get them into the refrigerator. They'll keep for several days in there. We like to make up a double batch like this and get it into the fridge, and we can take it for lunches. Also, we have them for breakfast and stuff like that all the time. They're great like that. Now, if you want to make up an even larger batch, or you're not going to eat that many, you can also freeze them. You could take them, I would just lay them out on a piece of parchment paper, just sort of individually spaced out a little bit. I would get them nice and frozen, and then you could pop them even into a Ziploc bag or something like that and keep them in the freezer. They'll last in there at least a few months. However, I'm hungry right now, so I have other plans. Got a couple of slices of some awesome homemade sourdough here with some butter just melted onto it. For each of these, I'm going to take my egg bite and just smush it right on like this. And then, how about a little hot sauce? This is some of my mango habanero hot sauce right here. Oh yeah. And we're ready to give it a try. Oh my. This is just marvelous. These egg bites are nice and light and fluffy and just super rich and delicious. Of course, with these ones, we've got that nice added component of some chives. Like I said, you can play around with this all you want. You can get little chunks of meat, all kinds of other things in there. You want to mix it up with some different cheeses. Maybe even get like some goat cheese or some boursin or something like that in there. It would be absolutely delightful. Once you have that base recipe, it's really easy to adjust it. As soon as you have those 3 large eggs, you get some of that cottage cheese in there. Then you can play around. I used the shredded marble and medium cheddar, but again, you can totally mix that up. Now, I should have mentioned, this is actually dinner tonight. With that nice, delicious sourdough base, I've got the egg bites on there. You have that lovely chive coming through. I'm still just picking away at it. And that mango habanero hot sauce on there, just elevating it with that heat and that acidity. It's really, really fantastic. So give it a whirl. If you do try this out or you play around with some little spins on the recipe, please let me know how it turns out for you and how much you like it. And until next time, keep your eggs at 11.